I'm very excited to welcome Chris and Barbara Howard to our beautiful campus on this festive occasion. By my count, this is at least the third commencement within just a few weeks this spring that Chris and Barbara have attended. First, President Howard presided over an array of graduation activities at his own Robert Morris University in Pennsylvania. And then the Howards attended the graduation of their son Cohen at Sewanee, the University of the South in Tennessee. The Howards have two outstanding sons, Cohen and Joshua, who is completing his freshman year at Middlebury College. Chris Howard is a good friend, dynamic speaker, and his life embodies the virtues of academic excellence, leadership, honor, and service that we hope will define the life of every captain. Chris Howard attended the Air Force Academy. He was the starting running back on the football team and won the Campbell Trophy, the highest academic award in America for a senior college football player. He then won a Rhodes Scholarship and earned a doctorate in politics at Oxford. Dr. Howard later earned an MBA, a Master's in Business Administration with distinction from Harvard Business School, and had a successful career in the corporate world. As an Air Force officer, Dr. Howard served as a helicopter pilot and then became an intelligence officer for the elite Joint Special Operations Command and earned the Bronze Star for his service in Afghanistan. Dr. Howard has also had a remarkable career in higher education. He has served as Vice President for Leadership and Strategic Initiatives and Directors of the Honors College at the University of Oklahoma, served as President of Hampden-Sydney College in Virginia, and now is President of Robert Morris University in Pennsylvania. These programs and institutions all have flourished because of his vision, his passion, and his determination and his intellect. Ladies and gentlemen, I am truly honored to present a distinguished citizen and leader, a great American, Dr. Chris Howard.
Here's the good news. As President Tribble's remarks got longer and longer, my speech got shorter and shorter. Thank you. Just kidding. You won't get off that easy. A few things before I get started with my formal remarks. The faculty are indeed the brains and soul of this institution, and they're mighty smart because they're under the shade. So there's a reason. Follow their lead. 2016, they'll lead you to shade. That's a good thing. I also want to thank the Board of Visitors, including especially Bobby Hatton, who is also, like President Tribble, a graduate of Hampden-Sydney College. And as the former president, I always get a little nervous when I come up here to Captain Country. I think somebody's going to take a shot at me, but on behalf of that wonderful institution that helped me be here today, have Bobby Hatton help Paul Tribble, I bring greetings from Hampden-Sydney College as well as Robert Morris University. I'm a Southern Baptist, amen. So I say thank you and amen a lot. So I'd like the class of 2016 to join me. Please get on your feet and let's thank these wonderful parents and friends and family that have come out here and just say thank you to them. Give them a round of applause. I know I speak for them by saying that they're not only delighted, but some of them are actually surprised that you are here today. So that's a good thing. And one more thank you. Paul mentioned my wife. I want to mention his and him in the same sentence. P-Trib. You got it right. Rosemary. Let me tell you, Paul, you outran your coverage. You have a lovely wife, and I'm going to introduce Rosemary Tribble the way that I often introduce my wife, the way the President of the United States introduces his wife. Rosemary Tribble, ladies and gentlemen, she does everything that P-Trib does better, backwards, and in heels. So, Rosemary Tribble, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go, class 2016. I'm speaking to you. All these other people, you're collateral damage. I apologize, parents and friends. I'm speaking to the class of 2016, and I'm delighted. I want to give you 3 B's to put in your pocket as you head out. And they'll be brief, I'll be bright, and then I'll be gone. How's that? But the first B is to be yourself. Be yourself, class of 2016. Chris Howard, 7th grade, Plano, Texas. I decided that on that day I was going to wear a tie to school. And I want to give you an optic. This was not a preppy Virginia private school. This was a Texas school where we had difficulty getting guys to wear underwear to school. So it wasn't a very fancy place. So I decided to wear a tie to school. I showed up, and all my friends, they called me Howie at that time. I said, Howie, why are you wearing a tie to school? I said, well, you know what? I want to be somebody. I want to be a leader. I want to be a person of consequence. I want to carry myself a certain way. They said, that sounds fine, but Howie's on crack cocaine. But I was going to be myself, class of 2016, which catapulted me to my 9th grade year, where I decided to join Army JROTC. And it was an interesting optic going into that program. It required us to wear, if you know the program, to wear a uniform on every Tuesday. And it was actually, in Army parlance, a BUU. A butt ugly uniform. And so you could imagine the optic walking through my high school at that point. I wore a tie to school 4 days a week, and on the 5th day, I wore a butt ugly uniform. I can tell you, I was a real ladies' man. Just kidding. But I was going to be myself. I was going to be myself. Fast forward to my senior year, when that Army JROTC uniform that was very plain, bare fed of ribbons or medals, I had become the battalion commander, Cadet Colonel Chris Howard. So I had, at that point, ribbons up to here and medals down to there, and they even gave me a saber, a sword to carry to school. I'd go into the football locker room, because I was a very good football player, and I went to the locker room, and my teammates would say, hey, Howie, man, you look kind of cool in that uniform. I said, hey, back off. How you like me now? That same Chris Howard was being himself and playing football in Texas, which is a religion into itself, P-Trip. We won the state championship. Did I mention we won the state championship? We won the state championship in football in Texas, which is a big freaking deal. And after the games on Friday nights, we would have, you know, guys, we'd have the party. Y'all not that old. You know. Sometimes the parents were there. Sometimes the parents weren't there. But at the parties, inevitably, people would come up to me and say, hey, Howie, man, hey, you wanna drink this? No, thank you. Hey, Howie, you wanna smoke this? No, thank you. Hey, Howie, you want to lick this? No, heck no, get away from me. But I was going to be myself, right? And that's what I implore you to do. Because throughout your lives, as you figure out which path you're going to take, what career, what job, what graduate school, etc. By the way, Robert Morris is accepting applications for graduate school. I just want to make a shameless plug. But whatever path you choose, make it your path. Not your mama's path. Not your daddy's path. Not your big mama's path. Although we all love Big Mama. Be yourself. That was my first B. My second B goes back to my time as an Air Force Academy football player, where I had a great coach named Fisher DeBerry, a Hall of Fame coach. And he was from South Carolina. Is anybody here from South Carolina? Now, you won't want to admit it after I tell you this story. You're going to put your hand down, but that was a sucker punch. But Coach DeBerry was from South Carolina, ladies and gentlemen, which meant he spoke often, loud, and in a way that no one could understand. He would say things like this. By golly, man, we the kick, the punt, go, let's go right now. What the heck did Coach just say? I don't know, but keep running. He might shut up. He'd say things that were crazy. He said, he had these wonderful colloquial sayings. One of his favorites was, by golly, ladies and gentlemen. I love this echo, by the way. Sorry about that. Drunk with power, P-Trip. By golly, if you leave this wonderful lawn at Christopher Newport today, and you see a turtle on a fence post, he didn't get there by himself. What the heck does that mean? Is that biology? What are we talking about, turtles and stuff like that? But that's the way Coach brought it. But at one point, my junior year, he had us, the whole team, in a horseshoe. And he had us down on one knee, and he's just going off. By golly, man, we got to beat Navy this year. We didn't beat them last year. We got to do this. And you know when Coach is talking to you down on one knee, let me demonstrate you like this. Coach talks so long, you got to switch knees. Well, 17 knees later, Coach said something very interesting. He said, by golly, man, what kind of team we have if everybody would have practiced just like you? And by golly, man, what kind of team we have if everybody would have played just like that beautiful young lady 3 rows back? That's you. Beautiful. And by golly, what kind of team would we have if everybody would have comported themselves in the classroom the same way this gentleman right here comports himself? Ladies and gentlemen of the class of 2016, my coach was asking me and asking us as I asked you, and that is to be accountable. Be accountable. I thought about my junior year, my moral philosophy class, where we studied Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher. He had this idea called the moral imperative, categorical imperative. Categorical imperative is very simple. What kind of world would we have if everybody were to act like you or you or you in every moral circumstance? How universalizable are your actions? Your captains, you're special, the bar is high, ladies and gentlemen. This is an enchanted university. And so the expectation that you be accountable. And here's the tough part. The higher you get up in the flagpole, the more your butt they can see. Think about it for a second. And when you don't think they're looking, class of 2016, I promise you, they're looking right at you. I could go and find folks in the class of 2020 who, and I'm not going to exaggerate this, and don't get a big head now, that idolize you. There are freshmen on this campus that look at each and every one of you and say, if I could just be like her or him or her, I'd be okay. So be accountable. Quick vignette. A couple years ago when I was president of Hampton-Sydney, I remember driving up to Wintergreen, staying at my friend Dr. John Hillen's cabin up there, and I was getting out of the car. My wife and kids were not with us. I had my dog with me. My dog saying, man, I'm going into the place, and as I walked in, somebody goes, President Howard. And I go, God? It wasn't God. It was actually a woman who had a house near my friend's house, and she greeted me, and we talked for a few minutes. And I thought to myself, it could have been a very different set of circumstances. I could have got in the car, could have picked my nose and scratched my behind and kicked the crap out of my dog. What kind of accountability would that have been? That's not being a captain. That's not being a captain. So be accountable. Here's my final B. January 17th, 1995, then Captain Howard, flying a T-37 jet trainer at Laughlin Air Force Base near the Mexican border, a couple hours west of San Antonio. And I was on my 3rd solo mission, and I made a radio call. This sounded something like this. Just indulge me. This is Tiger 3-1, Area 39, West Mission, do acrobatic maneuvers, over. Roger that, you're clear, acrobatic maneuvers. Roger that. Man, I was cooler than the other side of the pillow, baby. Because I had been given permission to do the Cuban 8. You want to see it? That's not a rhetorical question. You want to see it or not? We're not at Washington and Lee. These are supposed to be bright students. They're supposed to be engaged. This is not UVA. This is Christopher Newport. All right, here we go. You want to see it? Here we go. All right, here we go. Looks like this. You want to see it again? All right, so here I am. I'm inverted, and I go from an inverted to erect. I go to pull the stick up, but here's the deal. When I pull the stick this way, the airplane went that way. Now, you don't have to be a physics major at Christopher Newport University to know that when you pull the stick this way, the plane ain't supposed to go that way. So I'm at about 300 knots an hour, a bit over 300 miles an hour, going down like this. And all of a sudden, an airplane that usually sounds like this, sounds like this. That is a bad airplane sound. And as I'm heading down, I'm starting to see, ladies and gentlemen, things that pilots should never see. I'm starting to see trees. I'm starting to see leaves on trees. I'm starting to see squirrels on leaves on trees. I'm starting to see nuts in the hands of squirrels on leaves on trees. And all of a sudden, I start thinking about this algebra equation. If Dr. Howard is flying straight at the ground at 300 miles an hour, and a train leaves Chicago at 5 o'clock in the morning, it's always a train in these word problems. When's Captain Howard going to die? At which point I go, I'm not going to die. There's an ejection seat. So I reach down, grab the hand grip, squeeze the triggers, and come out. That's my special effect. Sorry about that. It's early. And all of a sudden, as I shoot up the canopy blows off, I come out of the airplane, I get this opening shock. No longer cooler than the other side of the pillow, I promise you. And I go to touch my helmet to lift the visors. I've been trained, and I realized that my helmet had been shucked off in the ejection. And then I touch the side of my face, and I realize that my face is swollen and blood's coming down the side of my face. And then I say, I'm gonna land right now. Because I did a high-speed, low-altitude ejection. That's a very lethal combination. So I had a couple of swings in the chute. I hit the ground hard. And in parlance of military, and I see these soldiers up front, you know, when you go to airborne school, which I did later on, they teach you to do PLFs. That's called a parachute landing fall. Ladies and gentlemen, in the class of 2016, I did a PFL, pretty freaking bad landing. So I pummeled in, I hurt my knee. I took my parachute, drank some water, kind of recovered from shock, set my parachute up, and I waited for assistance. The airplane flew over about 20 minutes later, rocked its wings, knew I was there. Then a Border Patrol helicopter picked me up, put me back to the Air Force Base. I get back, I report to my commander, Colonel Pepe, and I say, sir, Chris Howard reporting. He goes, Chris, what happened? I said, sir, I was doing a Cuban 8, turned into a nose-low recovery, turned into an ejection. He said, well, you made the right decision, because I'm here to shake your hand and not pick it up off the ground. So within 24 hours, I was whisked to Wilford Hall in San Antonio, where I had knee surgery. I came back to Laughlin Air Force Base, and I went through not one, but 2 investigations to figure out what happened. I rehabilitated my knee for about 6 weeks, and at the end of the 6 weeks, I had the opportunity to fly again. It was up to me. I was looking in that glass. I was looking in that mirror. So I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I said, well, the last time I got in an airplane, I damn near died. So I might just take a job on the ground, maybe underground, right? But I thought about all the people, like you must be thinking about today, that sacrificed for me to be in that position. I thought about the 332nd Fighter Pursuit Group, the all-black fighter unit that escorted fighter unit escorted white bombing units over North Africa and Europe and never lost a bomber. But when they came back to America, to places like Richmond, places like here, they were treated like second-class citizens because they were black. I thought about my father, who earned a Bronze Star in Vietnam. I thought about finally my Uncle Bo, Charles Howard, decorated combat veteran, 2 tours in Vietnam, coming into the gates of Fort Benning, Georgia, pulled over by a police officer. Uncle Bo always had a clean Oldsmobile back in the day. He got pulled over by a police officer. Police officer says, Sergeant, you were speeding. My uncle says, no, sir, I wasn't. He says, shut up, N. And the N didn't stand for NBA. So I thought about all those people that sacrificed for me, and so when I went in to see Colonel Pepe, I reported, I said, sir, Captain Howard reports for duty, prepared to fly. 7 months later, I was a United States Air Force pilot, and that's my final B. It's to be courageous. Be courageous, class of 2016. I don't care how much President Tribble and his lovely faculty and staff and coaches teach you all about leadership, but if you're not willing to endure some physical deprivation, some pain and sacrifice, you, my friends, will not be leaders. And this nation needs leaders. It needs you and you and you. So be courageous. Thank you so much. I'll leave with you all with those 3 B's. To be yourself, to be accountable, be courageous, be captains. God bless you.
Chris Howard, we thank you for those very special words. Courage. And these times require courage. Leadership and courage. Dr. Howard. Rector, will you come forward and read this, please? Here, right here.
Be it known that the Board of Visitors of Christopher Newport University, in recognition of his extraordinary leadership and service to our country and to the Commonwealth of Virginia, and his personal commitment to academic excellence, does hereby confer upon Christopher B. Howard the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with all rights, honors, privileges, and obligations thereunto appertaining. In witness thereof, the seal of the university and the signatures of designated officers of the university and its Board of Visitors are unto hereby fixed. Given this day at Newport News, Virginia, the 14th of May, 2016.